Greetings, this is Charles McCall with Mentoring and Growing Leaders again, and we're continuing on a short mini-series entitled Leadership is Making Others Great. And if you're coming in the middle of this series, I recommend that you go back to lesson number 1, video number 1, because one builds upon another. You can watch them independently, but it would be more systematic, I think make more sense to you if you went back to lesson number 1, 2, 3, and on into 4 and 5. And so the premise is, we believe that you can be a greater leader. We believe that you're a great leader right now, at least at one level of leadership, and we can believe that you can rise to another level. We believe that your staff and those around you can also rise. And this is the key. Instead of focusing on yourself and trying to make yourself great, which of course is necessary, we have to gain more experience, gain more education, and all of that, but focus on building up those around you. Build a team and make your team great. Invest in others, and then as they rise up, you will rise up as well. And so in this short lesson, we're going to look at work habits. And so making others great is training them to be successful. That's part of leadership. Leadership is knowing the destination. Leadership is knowing basically how to get there. Leadership is the ability to inspire others to move forward. But leadership also is speaking into the lives of those who work together with you and addressing issues in their lives that are maybe hindering them from rising to the next level, and training them, giving them the training, giving them the resources so that they can be successful. And so one aspect of training them to be successful is helping them to establish successful work habits. Now, this is key, and I'm going to be talking about 12 work habits that will help you and your leadership team to become successful, and we'll look at just 4 of them in this session, and then we'll look at the next session 4. The next session 4 is how we plan on doing it. Okay, but you've got to create good work habits. If you're lazy, if you're haphazard and not having a clear plan is a killer to success. It's a killer to rising up to the next level. And so you have to be systematic. You have to have a plan to create and establish good work habits. It's a key. And so good work habit, successful work habit number 1 is over-communicate. I can't stress this enough. You have to communicate above, you have to communicate below, and you have to communicate laterally to those that are working with you. And so things that you're going to do, things that have happened, things that you hope might happen, I would just tell you, most people would prefer to have more information than less information. And so you report to those above. And the person above you, or those above you, they need information from you and be able to make decisions, to be able to make evaluations, to be able to know what to do. And it's just terrible when those that are working below you don't communicate with you. And you're moving forward with something and you lack an important and vital information that they have, but they've neglected to tell you. Let the person above tell you if you're giving them too much information. So you give your supervisor, your director, your boss, you give them all more information on what you think they need to know. And then you can tell them, am I giving you too much information? Is this okay? And they will give you the guidelines. You communicate below to those below you. Communicate where you're going, what you're going to do, when are you going to do it, how are you going to do it. Communicate, communicate, communicate. And you communicate laterally to those, your peers, those that are working with you and they're at your same level. Excuse me. So the first successful work habit is over-communicate. Over-communicate by meeting people face-to-face, by sending messages, by emails, by phone calls, by whatever method that you need to use to communicate with them, whatever is best for them. And again, you can ask them, what's the best way to communicate to you? You want me to call you? You want me to send a message? You want me to meet with you face-to-face? And so you get feedback from those above, those below, and those beside on what's the best way to communicate. You got that? There's much more that can be said about the challenge of getting what's in our brain and in our emotions and in our thinking into somebody else's brain, emotions, and thinking. It is no easy task. The second successful work habit that will lead you to success is be positive. You know, I've been sharing with you in all of my videos, I'm kind of an open person, and I have a melancholy temperament. I tend to worry, I tend to think too a lot, I tend to be negative, I tend to be critical. I realize that that's a weakness in me, and I have to overcome it. And I told you that many years ago, I made a decision, I'm going to try to be a positive person. Try to look at the glass as being half full rather than half empty. Instead of telling someone what's wrong with their problem, give them some ideas on what could make it better. Ask questions. And so try to be a positive person and not somebody that's always putting out somebody else's fire or dashing their hopes and dreams to pieces or always seeing the negative side to it. You may see that way. I see things that way automatically. But I try to be careful about how I voice it and how I share with others what I'm feeling on the inside. So sometimes I have to wrap it in such a way so it's acceptable to someone else. You understand that? That you may see on the negative side, you may see a mine in the road, a danger in the future, but sometimes we can present that in a way that is others can receive it better than thinking that we're just being judgmental and critical of them. The third successful work habit is plan your work the night before and come into the office a little bit early. Okay, so I'm not saying work 24/7. I don't advocate that at all. But I recommend that before you go to bed at night, you've got your phone and you can just make a few little notes on, okay, so what do I have to do the rest of this week? What do I have to do tomorrow morning when I first get into the office? What's some of the things that I need to do? And so I do that all the time. I've got an app, a task list app that is very easy for me to do. And then I put my phone far away from me so I can't touch it and I can't look at it in the middle of the night, and I go to sleep. And then you arrive at work early. I've seen so many staff that I've worked with, they come into the office and they're there at 8 o'clock. And they're thinking, okay, well, what do I need to do today? I'm going to go get a cup of coffee and sit down and think, look through my papers. That is massively inefficient. And again, if that's how you want to work and if that's what the atmosphere of your office is, that's up to you. But if you want to be successful, if you want to rise to the next level, I recommend that you follow my advice. Think about what you need to do the following day, the night before, get into work early, and jump right to it. And get right to it. You can accomplish more. You're usually fresher. You might need a cup of coffee like I do to get you going, but you move right into it. So you plan your work the night before and you arrive at work a few minutes early. And number 4, you use a calendar and a task list. And so I live by my calendar. Many years ago, I was constantly forgetting appointments. I had little pieces of paper and I had them in my pockets, I had them in my book, I had them in everything to try to remind me, and then I would lose one. I don't know what my next appointment is or what my appointment is later this week. I don't know who it is. I forgot totally. And then something I discovered was called a day timer. And the day timer revolutionized my life. And I became the king of day timers amongst all the people that knew me at that time. And they bought them. And the day timer was a calendar on one side of the page and some notes on the other side of the page, places where I could write notes and reminders. It was a lifesaver for me to help get me organized. And then something came out called a Palm Pilot. It was a precursor to the smartphone. And so, wow, the Palm Pilot. So now I have to shift from paper to digital. And for me, being born in 1953, a baby boomer, that was a massive change. And I'm still trying to work through it. I can't do it 100%, but I'm doing it for the most part. You switch from paper to digital. And so you've got a calendar in your phone. You can put reminders to pop up and to remind you 10 minutes before, 2 days before, 2 weeks before, and a task list of things that you have to do. And you get the satisfaction of checking them off when it's time to check them off. And like, okay, I've got that done. And within the app that I use, it's all free, and you have a task list, and then you have subtasks within that if you need it. And so here we are, the first step in helping others be successful by helping them to establish successful work habits. And so we've talked about over-communicate, be positive, plan the outline of your work the night before, get to work office a little bit early, and use a calendar and a task list. And so I hope this has been helpful. We're going to do 4 more in our next video. And again, if you want my notes, the PowerPoint slides I'm looking at now, I'd be happy to send those to you. growingleaders75@gmail.com. You can look in the notes below the video. Please subscribe to this channel. Please click on the bell to get the next video. And send this link to someone else if it's been helpful to you. Let's go for it.